Hello and welcome back to another episode of Nick Tiffany's Movie Reviews, coming at you online and in print format at nicktiffany.com, in audio wherever you get your podcasts, and even in video on YouTube. Today we're talking about undoubtedly one of the events of the year, both theatrically and concert-wise, and that's none other than Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour. Now, this is a music tour that spans 17 years of catalogs, all sorts of music, any kind of genre that Swift has kind of played around. And what she did was she took this groundbreaking, money, earth-shattering tour that she's been on this year, and they filmed a concert experience for it, and they're putting it in theaters. And so now you too can go enjoy Taylor Swift and all her different eras. I was not one who paid the large price to go see this tour. I feel like Seattle, I was looking at high hundreds, even into the thousands for some of this. But truthfully, having watched the concert footage now, people definitely got their money's worth. To start, it was a 3.5 hour concert that they've kind of truncated into about 2 hours, 45 minutes worth of film and song. They did a really great job. I mean, they shot the whole thing at SoFi Stadium down in LA. So there's tons of plugs for SoFi, beautiful football stadium, beautiful concert venue, all sorts of amazing technology. There's a billion outfit changes. She puts on just a heck of a show, just top to bottom. I could get why so many people were freaking out about this. I can get why this was such a massive event. And honestly, as a fan of hers, and that's certainly varied in the last 17 years, I personally loved getting back to some of those first 4 or 5 Taylor Swift albums that were kind of integral to the middle school, high school, early college experience maybe for me, as compared to some of her more recent works, which I've still gone through and listened to. But, I think the way that they kind of moved through the different eras, both in the concert and the film, was pretty great. You get 4 or 5 best hits essentially, and then we're moving on. You get a nice cutout, new outfit change, bringing in this new era. It was pretty good. Immediately, I mean, I know that you guys probably don't care. Again, I'm a 27-year-old white guy talking about Taylor Swift, so I'm not saying I'm not a target audience for her at one point or whatever. These are just my simple musings. I think if you're a fan of her, you're probably going to go see this regardless, and you'd be glad that you did, because it is a good time. This took me all the way back. I mean, my Taylor Swift discovery, it all goes back to middle school, like late elementary, middle school, with her first self-titled album, Taylor Swift. We're talking Picture to Burn, which that song is burned in my memories. I remember in 6th grade, I don't know if it was the entire class or like the entire 6th grade class or whatever, but we took a math field trip to the Museum of Flight up here in Washington State. And I remember our entire bus singing along to some of these first Taylor Swift songs. This is like the Zune iPod generation, but what else are you going to do when you're in 6th grade on a bus? I mean, you sing, so we were singing Baby by Justin Bieber. We sang all sorts of stuff, but for whatever reason, Picture to Burn by Taylor Swift, I can think of more than a few friends as well who stood out during the singing of this and were the ones that got even your more shy, reserved kids going with it. And I just, to me, that's where I first flash to when I think of Taylor Swift. When I think of Romeo, Take Me, I'm thinking Fearless, I'm thinking Speak Now, I'm thinking even all the way like Reputation is probably the last full album where I was like all in. Like, majority of this album I think is phenomenal. Totally, it's a totally different album for her. And it was definitely one that delved more into the pop, rap, hip hop kind of space. But she uniquely kind of owns that space sometimes. And it was cool watching the concert film, because obviously I would say half of her songs are much slower, whether they're acoustic, piano, guitar, they're softer ballads. And so you're like, how is that going to translate into a concert experience? especially one where you've got tens of thousands of people, hundreds. I'm like, there's so many people that can fit in there. You want to have the best audio. You want them to get their money's worth. And what they've kind of done is, and what I've noticed with these Taylor's versions of albums that she's put out, is there's a little bit more of a rock kind of twang to some of these songs. And even on some of the older songs where, and obviously, she's in her 30s telling you, hey, you want to hear a song when I was 15 about heartbreak? Of course, she's not going to sound the same she did when she was 15. Be the same as if One Direction tried to go back and sing anything that they used to do. It's just different register, different octave, different keys. When you're younger, you can just sustain and hit notes that as you get older, you can't. So kind of cleverly, they've taken this approach to retooling some of those more country style songs, or even some of the slower piano ballads, and given them a little bit more of a rock presence. There's some light guitar, some drums, just enough to kind of keep it sounding loud enough, I think, for that style of experience. I did miss kind of the country twang that, again, obviously that was the Taylor I kind of grew up with. And so I was hoping just even a little bit maybe would have stuck around, but I understand that your audience evolves and you as an artist evolve as well. It was really cool because in the film, she was just incredibly appreciative to the audience, to the entire audiences from every leg of the tour, just the ability, I'm sure, to go and rehash all of your different albums. That concept I really enjoy because I'm sitting here for the movie. I was like, cool, about like 60 or 70% of this stuff I'm going to like and enjoy and know pretty well. The other 30, I'm going to get a whole new look at how she performs some of these songs that I'm maybe less familiar with. But I sat there thinking, wow, this might be the next age of not movies, but as far as artists go in our ever-changing landscape. How many of you have waited years, if not decades, to see your favorite artist perform songs from their catalog that span 20, 30 years plus, 40, 50, you name it? Obviously, I get that when an artist comes out with a new album, yes, we're going to tour it. It's going to be great. You want to hear some of the old songs, but you get why they have to focus on the new. There's so many artists out there with such rich catalogs. And obviously, I think of my first favorite people off the top of my head. I saw Bruno Mars, who did a really great job kind of going through all his hits. He's only got a few albums, features and different stuff. But as a fan for so long, it was just the greatest night to hear him go through all the songs from 10 plus years ago, even that I was like, dude, I didn't know I would get a chance to hear this because I figured they'd be doing new stuff. And it was just such a great surprise and such a rewarding feeling as someone who's followed this artist for years. The Taylor Swift stuff goes back so far too, because a number of my best friends and close friends in high school were obsessed with Taylor Swift. Taylor was their god. She could do no wrong. They got shirts, merch, all sorts of stuff. I probably at the time thought it was funnier than it was anything. I know I was definitely the resident Kanye West fan, whether it was in my group or just at the time. I was very much on a, hey, let me know when she makes a My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And then I'll start wearing Taylor Swift shirts. And then obviously the Taylor Kanye stuff happens. And, it was interesting thinking about that while watching the movie as well, and how intertwined the two of them are, for better or for worse. But just looking at the direction Taylor's career as an artist, as a person, kind of went after that as well. Whether it was like, hey, this horrible thing happened to me, this embarrassing thing. Not only am I never going to let that happen again, not that she let it happen, but taking ownership of yourself as an artist, not apologizing for who you're going to be, and just marching to the beat of your own drum. I mean, she really took things in stride, and I think carved out a whole, clearly, it's her and Drake battling for consistent number ones, best hits, best selling albums. Everything. She completely dominates the world and took her narrative into her own hands. Obviously, she pokes fun at herself too, in the same ways that people, she dates too many people. I'm totally guilty of saying that, especially when I was younger too. I'm like, she's just going to write an album about this guy when she breaks up with him. It's like, who would even want to date her? Harry Styles, stay away. don't do this. I totally bought into it at one point too. There was a total Taylor hate train, or, obviously when you're on top, people want to applaud your downfall. And so I'm sure when I was younger, especially too, it was like, all right, well, everyone's obsessed with her. She's fine, but blah, 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 blah. She's great. Watching the movie, she could perform 15 Super Bowls and still have songs to play. She'd kill the crowd. It was fun watching it with an energetic crowd. Yes, they were singing. In my theater, at least, it wasn't like obnoxiously so. It was kind of like singing to yourself a little bit, maybe. And then when your song came on, one person was maybe a little bit into it more than the others. But it was a really cool experience just in that. Like, I've watched tons of concert films or documentaries over years. This one, there's far less, it's really just the concert experience. It's not like a background. There's no interviews with her background dancers, whatever. It's very straightforward. This is the best look that you're going to get at what the Eras tour was. And so for that, you're going to get your money's worth. It was really funny. I'm like, the first F-bomb I heard in the movie, I was like, okay, that makes sense. PG-13. Way to, all right, sneaking that one in. Not sneaking it, but I was like, well done. It was a well-placed F word in the song. And then another F-bomb drops 20 minutes later or so, and I was like, oh, I guess I didn't even check, but I was like, this movie has to not be rated, because otherwise, how are they getting? I'm like, there's children here. How are they getting away with this? But no, the movie's not rated. And so because of that, yes, you can actually sing the material. And that's one thing where older Taylor, even knowing, yes, there's tons of young girls in the audience, young fans, something I always thought about her was she's too shy. She's too kind. She's not pandering to a younger audience, but I think as an artist, obviously, like she and Drake, they both have a huge realization that multimedia, music videos, whatever, everything is TikTok, everything is Reels, it's short form. Is this a catchy song that can be replicated and can be used? Are these lyrics that are going to last and people are going to put them on their Instagram captions and just like, ooh, like, did you hear that bar? Did you listen to that Taylor Swift lyric and how heartbreaking that is? She's a master at what she's doing, and she's just operating on the highest level. So it's nice to see, though, still that, hey, she's like, yeah, I'm a 30-some-year-old woman. Yes, I swear. Yes, I talk about things now that maybe are a little more risque, and I think that it's better for that, because there's still that aspect of her that's coming through that is real, that is authentic, that's not just, I'm just making content for you guys. Whereas Drake, I think, has really fallen into a pitfall of, yeah, I'm just trying to keep up with the kids and make something they're going to like. I don't even know if it's something that I like, but I mean, you can hear it. And so listening, especially getting to hear more Folklore, Evermore, 2 albums that I'd listened through, but really maybe didn't connect with at first, but really enjoying some of the storytelling and what she had to say. The film ends with Midnights, which again is her latest album. I should have known it, because there's definitely like 6 or 7 or 8 songs that they'll play off that. And of course I'm like, no, you should have played more off your other albums, but whatever. I'm not the biggest Midnights fan. I think it's fine. I think again, that's where when you end it with Karma, yes, it's poppy catchy, but also Karma's a cat on my lap, and Karma is an Easter bunny, or every time I hear that song, I just think it's kind of silly. And so I make up my own words. But, again, she knows what she's doing. The crowd was into it. They were all, Karma is my boyfriend. People dancing in the theater. So I can't knock them. The goal was achieved. As a even pseudo Taylor Swift fan, I think if you went to this, your appreciation for her is just going to grow, because she puts on a hell of a show. She cares about her fans, and the girl's got hits. So thanks again for tuning in. As always, stay tuned to N-Team Movie Reviews on all social media networks, podcast platforms, and on YouTube for the latest on movie news and reviews. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.